the video and reading through this one, especially the explanation. That'll make this all make sense. I know this one might seem a little gimmicky, and probably is. However, I think at bottom what we're doing is actually pretty useful. To give you an example, so as we're looping through, we get this 0, we look left and right, we get the max, which is 8. We look up and down, we get the max, which is 4. We get the minimum of these two, so we grab 4, and we increase this 0, or we increase our answer 4 times to get this matching this. And I think that actually takes a pretty unique algorithm that is worth going through, especially because we get to practice some map functions, which are the map method, which is always good to practice. So let's jump right in by defining this one. Let's call it max Skyline. And we're going to use the whiteboard for a second to explain. Basically what we need to do is, so we need to get, we need to get here to where we have the skyline viewed from the left and right. So as we go down left and right, 8, max is 7, max is 9, max is 3, corresponding to this. And we need to get this one, 9, 4, 8, 7. And getting this one is actually pretty simple. We would just jump through, grab the max of this array, grab the max of this array, grab the max of this array. But to get this one, it's a little harder to get the max from the columns. And one pretty cool way of doing that is actually to do it what's called a transposition, so to transpose our array, where all that means is we're grabbing the column 3, 2, 9, 0, and we're putting it in this array so that we can get the max the same way we would get the max from the way we would do it for the left and right rows. And so basically when we would grab this and change this array so that reflects the column. So 3, 2, 9, 0. And we would keep doing that on down. So the next one, 2, 4, 2, 3, would go here. And when we have that transposed array, then we can just take the max from each row again. And to show you how we do that with the map. So we're going to do that with a tricky little map function, and this is the hardest part because I could explain this for a while, but I'll try to just get through it as fast as I can. So first of all, we're going to map the elements in this array. So we're taking grid index 0 should correspond to this array. And actually I'm going to grab, to make it a little easier, let's call it grid. So this array is what we're grabbing here, or what we're mapping. And we're going to do, so we're going to do actually 2 maps. So this is, I'm just going to write this out and then explain it. So all we're doing here is, actually I'm just going to call this ignore, because basically this would grab, so the map function, the map method works in such a way that this first element, if we pass it this first element, which is what we usually do, what we're doing over here, it would correspond to this 3 and this 8 and, sorry, 0 and the 8 and the 4. But if we pass it the second argument, that corresponds to the index. So we'd get 0, 1, 2, 3. And that's actually what we need to use to transpose our array. So for this second part. And so the way we use that array is sort of like a loop, for loop within a for loop. We're saying for each one of those indices, we want to map this. So now we're grabbing the whole grid. So we're just dealing with this array, this array, this array, and this array, instead of one particular array. We're just using 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're saying at each element that has the index I, that's what we're going to map onto this first array. So after the first loop through, this first number is actually going to get changed to its own array of this column 3290. And so on for this one, we get our second column 0423, and so on for the next few. And that actually gets us our transposed array. So it gets us, I'll show you, I'll just console log that. Or let's do so as you can see, we get 3290 as our first element, 0423 as the second, and so on. So that's how we transpose an array. And from there, we can then just grab the max. So in order to get here, we need to grab the max from each row of both our original grid and our transposed grid. So we do, let's call it row max, and we're going to do another map. And what this is doing, call this one call max. So what this is doing is we are getting console log. So we should get here. We should get these two, which is what we. Oh no, sorry, console log. I missed it. Oh, transpose, right? There we go. It changed. So we get here. We get these two. 8793, 9487. So we're getting the maximum from this. So as we look left and right, in this first one, we're getting the maximum as we look up and down. Sorry, I'm pointing at the wrong one. But here and then here. And from there, once we have these two, so I'll just put that here. Because that's what we got when we console logged it. From there, all we need to do is we need to loop through our whole grid, and we need to compare it to, so left and right, we know the max right here, and then up and down, we know the max here. So we'd be 8 and 9 that we're comparing it to. And so to do that, we would go for and we're using the, I know in previous videos I've used the ES6 for loop syntax, but for this one we need to access the indices, not just the elements, so we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. And let's get this up a little bit. And so now we're saying for each time for 8. So for all 4 of these, for all 4 of these, I'm just going to delete this. I don't know why this is even in the explanation. I guess it was a little helpful, but we don't even need to actually increase the numbers. We just need to add what our increase would be to our maximum. So let's just delete that. So, and so we're gonna need like a min of maxes. So we're gonna need the minimum between these as we compare them. And so let's define that at the beginning. And let's define our total as well. And let's say min of maxes. And now that we have that, so we have first time through, we compare 8 and 9, and we grab the minimum of those two. Because remember, we want to increase our skyline up to the minimum amount so that we don't screw up our skyline. We're going to say total plus equal, so plus total min of maxes. So we're going to take, in this first case, it'd be 8. Subtract that by the first element in our grid. So now we're taking 8 minus 3, we're getting 5, so that would be how many times we could increment 3 to get up to 8. And we're adding that to our total. And as this goes all the way through, we end up with our total. We just return that. And so let's console log this just to show you it works. We should get 35, and we get 35. Yeah, if the only part I didn't really explain is this how we do this for loop within the for loops, but go ahead and just stare at that a while, and that'll make sense. So I don't think I need to explain that very much, and I hope you found this video helpful as well.